I was celebrating 50 years in business right before the flood, the summer of 16. My mother was in business. She started here in the 60s. She was here for 16 years. And I was been after her 34 years. So they bought the building. I'm not quite sure if it was 68 or 70. I was still in school, and Agnes came, which was a really big flood. I remember that. I was in high school. And Agnes came up in this shop 5 foot. The windows stayed intact. I don't remember a whole lot about it. I remember seeing boats, because the water didn't recede for quite some time, and people were using boats to, recover, get people to safe places, and check on their buildings. And she really did it as a hobby. It was a hobby for her, my father reported on his income tax as a hobby. So, it was a hobby. I was coming here like part-time. I had a part-time job, and the place where I worked dissolved, and my husband and I had just signed a contract for our house out here in Howard County. I'm like, oh my God. So I pretty much started working here full-time, and been doing that ever since. This collage that my girlfriend had made me for my grand opening, the Howard County Magazine had asked me to do an interview with them. And I was real hesitant about it. I don't know why. But my girl, my friends said, do it, it's publicity. And it was really a lot of fun. I had never had a photo shoot, and the dog was here, of course, and it really turned out great. And so many people saw it, and it was great. It was great publicity, and then things were going along okay. Financially, the year hadn't been the greatest, then the flood came. It was a regular Saturday, nothing really different. It was raining. No, it didn't start raining until about 3 o'clock. It was just a cloudy day. And it started spitting around 3 o'clock. And of course, then everybody goes home. I usually just go home around 5:30. I wasn't really staying here late because my boyfriend was over and we were going to have dinner. So I left him at 5 after 6. And it was raining. Raining normal. On the ride home, it was raining hard, but it didn't even cross my mind that anything was going to happen down here, because it just didn't seem that abnormal. And my girlfriend Megan, who has a shop down here, calls me and says, Charlene, something's going on in Ellicott City. And I'm like, oh, Megan, I've been through this so many times, I've heard it all, and they're just panicking. And I said, well, I'm going to finish my dinner. She calls me back. She says, get down there now. Something's really wrong. I'll meet you on Church Road. We got in the car, came down here. It had stopped raining. It's like 8:30. Megan saw her truck. We pulled up at the same time, and you couldn't get into the town. You had to know the certain back way to get into the town. They weren't letting anybody down on the street. And my building has a large back which goes up to Church Road. So I said, we're going to go down the back way. Got to the stairway, came down. There's no rain. I turned the corner, and I just dropped to my knees. I could not believe what I saw. My windows were gone. I have huge windows, 9x6. My store, the inventory, it was packed. I was one of those clutter queens. I mean, that's either you liked it or you didn't like it. But that's how my store was. You couldn't see I had shelving, I had shelves of stuff and stuff and stuff. And it was all gone. It was just either down, it was gone, or it was down in the mud. And I just started screaming and yelling and crying. I could not believe it. It was very surreal. It did not feel like it happened. I kept saying, am I dreaming this? I'm screaming. Am I dreaming this? What? I can't believe it. And, Megan and Timmy got me off the ground, and, we didn't come inside because of all the glass and everything. And I walked up to the intersection. And I was crying hysterically. And I just walked up there and I started screaming. I don't remember what I was screaming, but I was just screaming at the top of my lungs because I was so upset. I mean, this store is my life. I never had children, and this is what I get up for. And the funny thing is, about a month ago, one of the merchants that I'm very friendly with, she said to me, I have to tell you something. And I said, what, Sally? She goes, I heard you that night screaming. And I said, you did? Now, she is a block down, and she owns her building. She was actually standing on top of her building watching the water, and she had her cell phone with her. And she said, I heard somebody screaming, and I knew it was you. Letting it out that night saved me, because I was able to go on. And, I mean, trust me, it wasn't like I hopped out of bed the next day and I was like, oh yeah, come on, let's go clean some mud and all that. It wasn't like that at all. It was a release, and when I say we, it was a group of our friends, and we were busy. I'd never been so busy in my entire life, trying to find out where we're supposed to go, what are we supposed to do, who we are supposed to meet, where do we go to the library, do we go, they're giving us, Red Cross is giving us stuff, it was just, we all worked together, when they finally let us back in, and I'm not really sure what the time period was, but it was July 30th. I don't know if it was 2 weeks. It's it's all blur. But they only let us in for 2 hours at a time to see if we could recover anything. The recovery, and I'll start saying that was the recovery, was just an incredible experience. It was unbelievable. It was really unbelievable. The people that work for Howard County and helped us in the very beginning, the economic development, Alan Kittleman and John Weinstein, I knew who they were, but I didn't know them personally like I do now. They couldn't have done a better job. And, wrecking parks, they were involved, the police were involved, the firemen, everybody, and the citizens were involved, and the volunteers that showed up. I wish somebody would write a book about it, because it's something, it's like you see this kind of stuff on television and you go, that doesn't really happen, you know, it does. And it's how this county came together was just amazing. I mean, it's hard to explain unless you were here to feel it. It was a feeling. I mean, it didn't take me too long to decide that I was going to come back, because I figured how much it was going to cost. They were collecting the donations. I went to every single meeting that they had of that for the donations and the ECP. And I knew, okay, if I get this money and I have my retirement money, I will be able to come back. We didn't get as much as we thought, but you know what? Whatever we got, and it was very, you know, the outpouring of people, I guess, from everywhere donating money and having, you know, contributing, like, you know, half of their wages for like waiters and restaurants, and the money was really, you know, a lot of money. And I think they really did a great job in how they divvied it up. And I'm just grateful that I got what I got, because without that, I wouldn't have been able to come back. This is what I do. This is what I have been doing for 35 years. And when we first started to clean up, and we had volunteers that helped, these people that I didn't even know came over and, you know, just picked up the mud, we would even throw it in garbage bags, or we'd put it in boxes, take it out to the backhoe, put it in the front of the backhoe would take it and go to the dumpster. I mean, it was just an incredible thing. And I started finding my flood survivors. I started finding things that survived the flood. And it made me like, hey, look, this survived and that survived. And then my girlfriend Danielle, God bless her, she, in the beginning, she had a garden trowel. And, you know, there was like 5 inches of mud. And I took a bowl and I put it somewhere, and anything that was shiny, she would go through and say, oh my gosh, sure, I found a couple rings, or I found this and I found that. And it was like a celebration. It was so triumphant, you know, that I found the stuff, you know, some things. And at that time, I can remember standing in the mud and looking. There was nothing here. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna make this my dream store. I'm gonna make this what I always wanted it to be. So I just really got excited about rebranding myself, and I started designing how I wanted things to be, and they are 150% opposite of what it used to be. And people like it. People like it, and I'm rebranding myself, and I've been open since February 18th. I'm doing good, doing okay, and hopefully, you know, when we get the parking back, more people come down, and I intend to stay until I croak.